Okay, here they come. Welcome, welcome, everyone.
Hello.
All right. Everybody's
Hello.
popping in. Hello. Dusty made it.
So this is Ivan Kennedy from Sydney. Ian Maverick is on his way to Canada at the moment. So he's given me the link
Welcome, Ivan.
to come in. And in particular, I'm hoping Vernon Hester will come into the conversation at some point. He's my hero.
Yep, Vernon is here.
He's here.
Is he?
Ivan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where's Matt?
Oh, there he is. Okay. Vernon.
Whoa.
I've been using your Astracal for about the last 15 years. I bought a copy in 1990 from CN80 and I kept it for 10 years without using it. And then I started using it. I've just found it so wonderfully useful. It's far better than any of the modern computing programs because it lets you think what you're doing. And therefore you can do advanced science with great facility using that sort of programmable calculator approach. But you made Astracal so powerful that I've just never wanted for anything else. So when I publish papers now, I write them in Astracal and I publish them in Astracal in supplementary material. But I have colleagues who convert it into R or Python or whatever, which more younger people are more familiar with. So
There we are.
Anyone like to comment on that? Anyone else that uses Astracal?
Me. Well, there has to be someone in the world that uses it, so I'm glad you are, Ivan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's 3-1.
Well, in fact, I'm doing what I think is rather important work, which wouldn't have been possible without it.
Right.
And just how important it is remains to be seen. But the point is that the work would not have been possible without the facility that it provides. I love it. The other thing is that in my advanced years, as long as I can continue to write programs in Astracal, I know I haven't lost my mind.
As long as you have a tool that works for you and does the job you need it to do, doesn't matter how old it is.
That's the important thing. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to episode 22 of TRS-80 Trash Talk Live, our 22nd live show that we try to do at the end of every month, where we get together the enthusiasts of the TRS-80 computer from around the world. Typically, my co-host Ian Maverick runs this live version of our show, but Mav is apparently in transit somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, I guess, at this point. On his way to Canada, I think, for vacation. So Mav will not be here. So I'm going to try to run the show. So I think we'll do the typical thing. We'll go around the horn, talk about current state of affairs in the community of the TRS-80, projects that we're working on, items of interest. I just want to give a special hello and a special we're thinking of you to any of our TRS-80 fans in Ukraine. We're supporting you, we're behind you, and hopefully things work out for the better there eventually. I have some good friends and colleagues and former colleagues who have family there, and they're very concerned. But I hope things work out for all of you. You'll be in our prayers. All right. So let's start off. I'm just going to go by how the squares are oriented on my screen, and I'm going to start with Aaron Brockbank. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm not as wet as as some other people are in Australia right now. We've got floods up in Queensland. It's bizarre. We go from firestorms and things to flooding rains. But yeah, I'm doing fine. Pretty quiet here. Yeah, and nice to see Ivan on. I haven't seen Ivan since I think the second last or third last Sid Trug meeting. So good to see Ivan. Yeah, okay. I'll pass to the next person.
Any progress or any projects that you're working on? Any?
Oh well, there's still the unraveling of the PFS file Model 3 disk that's got some form of UCSD Pascal about it. I think I spoke about that on the last Trash Talk briefly and Trash Talk Live briefly, and certainly on the podcast. But there's not been too much progress because I do think it's not the as previously mentioned the PCD version, because it's version 2, not version 4. So I think that maybe it's it's a custom version that the makers of PFS did themselves to cover all the machines that they were doing. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Aaron. Since I'm the next square, I'm gonna go next. Okay, what have I been up to? Well, we did a Trash Talk podcast recording a couple weeks ago, and I still haven't edited it. Sorry, guys, but I'm gonna plan on doing it tomorrow. So that's gonna be out very shortly, probably early next week. So continuing with that podcast. What else am I doing in the world of TRS-80? Not too much. Everybody knows I got my camper recently, so I've been really into that and been going places and traveling. And
You mean your Trash Talk van?
yeah, it's going to be the home of a future mobile Tandy museum. That seriously, I really want to travel the country and
That's a great idea.
bring a couple TRS-80s. I want to visit all the different VCFs, on the coast, the West Coast, the East Coast. So, when I retire in about 10 years or so, we'll see.
Johnny Appleseed with TRS-80s.
And I'm still growing out the beard, so I'll just letting it go. My wife hates it, so something's going to happen eventually.
Can we call you Moses?
Call me. I'll be Noah. I'll take one of every TRS-80.
All you need is a slouch hat, and you could be Harry Mudd.
Mud didn't have much of a beard, did he? Not too much. No.
Eric's got a lot of catching up to do, though.
Well, I keep mine trimmed down.
Like I said before, we're amateurs in the beard department.
No, my wife doesn't like the big bushy beard, so she wants me to keep it trimmed down. So do it to make her happy.
Yeah, my wife doesn't either, but first time I've done it in my life, and I said, doggone it, if God took the hair off the top of my head, I'm going to grow it on the bottom.
There you go. All right.
Gravity.
Okay. What else? I think that's all I had. So I'm going to pass it off to George Phillips.
Yeah, so been a little bit busy playing around with TRS-80 JP, the emulator. New version is going to be coming out real soon now, and sort of in sync with the next TRS 8-bit publication. I think the main thing I've done to it, I've fleshed out the Fred emulation so that it can do all the usual auto boot stuff and stuff that the Fred boot menu requires. So you should be able to use the emulator to test out all your, crazy, wacky, self-booting TRS-80 OSs and your configurations and so on without having to do it on the real hardware. So that's about it.
Very good. Good to see that product keeps moving on, being developed. Eric, how about you? What have you been up to?
Well, the current project I have right now is, I bought a LNW80 and
Yes.
it's 90% working. So I've started reseeding all the chips, and I got about a quarter way through, and then got distracted by, actual work. So I
Yeah,
hope to get back to that tomorrow.
I built one of those when they first came out. I built it as a kit.
Yeah.
And it did not work.
Yeah, this one comes up, and but I think there's a issue with the reset circuit, so I also need to look at the capacitors in that, because you have to force it reset, and there's no expansion board in it or anything, so it's not that it's looking for a disk controller. But it's all something that can easily be fixed. It's just a matter of finding what's wrong with it. But at least the keyboard works completely, which is a bonus.
And just a review for those of us that don't know what it is. What is the LNW80?
It is a TRS-80 Model 1 clone with extra features added, but the base is 16K, black and white, and there's an option for color video. And when you have it fully expanded, it will not only run, the Model 1 software, but it will also, there's a CPM upgrade for it too, so it can run CPM. It's a little slow because 80 column mode is done in graphics, which, as we all know, graphics on the TRS-80 is in Model 1 is no speed demon, but it works. I tested it on another one before it died, so.
This is the one that Don French was involved in, right? Developing.
The LNW80?
No, which one was he involved in? I thought it was the LNW.
No, it was the
There's another one. Anybody know?
No.
I'll probably remember, later.
He was involved with the clone, right?
Yes.
After he left Radio Shack.
Yeah, if you've got a copy of Priming the Pump by the Welshes, I'm sure it's in there. That's a really remarkably detailed book about the TRS-80 system and its various iterations and so on. So, in fact, I was just reading my copy yesterday, so just enjoying that, anticipating this meeting. Ian actually asked me to transport some more TRS-80 gear down to Melbourne, and this morning as well as I'm sending some down driving some down for my son in my Falcon Ute on Thursday. All of the 80 micros, I've got a complete set except for number 1 and number 9, I think. He wants to display them in his lounge room in a glass cabinet. He's got a Model 4 set up with a Fred, and it runs all the games he used to play on my TRS-80 when he was a kid. And Tom's not married, so he hasn't got a wife to object to this. Yeah. He hasn't got it. But Ian has asked me to take down some equipment that was sold to him by a man called Terence Nyland, who used to work for various electronic companies, including Dick Smith. But he's got a complete Mod 1 system with extension interface, Tandy printer, and the table with the 2 holes cut in it, the desk with the holes cut in it to contain the keyboard and the extension interface. So I'm loading all those things up in the Ute to take down to Melbourne while Ian is on his way to Canada.
Yeah, he mentioned that He mentioned that System Desk when we were recording the podcast, I think a couple of weeks ago, didn't he?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it, but I do recall seeing ads for it in
Mhm.
some of the magazines.
Yeah.
In fact, when I went to transfer the equipment from Torrance's bus or his van, I was appalled at how much stuff he was giving me because it was leaving no room for our family stuff. We're going down to see where 4 of our 5 sons live in Melbourne. So because of the COVID restrictions, we haven't been seeing a lot of them.
Yeah.
But this is a good opportunity. So I'm going to set this desk up at Tom's place because Ian doesn't have any room for it at the moment.
Hmm.
But Tom has got plenty of room in the house he bought in Geelong.
Yeah, Ian's already filled up with TRS-80 gear.
Yeah.
And speaking of Ian, I did get a Dick Smith System 80 Mark II from him. It doesn't work, but I've got I've got another. It's not a Mark II. It's an older, the Mark I. The case was completely destroyed in shipping, so I can transplant the boards from that actually work into the case that's broken, and have that. And it also I got the expansion interface from him, so that'll be something I'll be bringing to TA22.
By the way, Eric, how many LNW80s do you have now?
4.
You have 4.
Mm.
I don't have any.
I also have 4 Max 80s, so.
I have
Wow.
0.
Oh, yeah, you got-
You have a Max 80. You have a Max 80.
You
I
have
have
one of the
a
Max
Max
80s,
80.
yeah.
No LNW.
Do all the LNWs work?
No,
They're different
no,
states?
they all have one of them is actually coated inside and out with this greasy, oily substance that I just cannot get cleaned off. So I don't know
Oh,
what it is, but I'm thinking that one might end up having some more aggressive cleaning done to it, and hopefully it won't destroy the board. But if not, I'm thinking of, stripping the board off so we have an actual blank that we can use possibly to get copied for reproductions. I don't know if it can be done, but if it can be done, that'd be a neat thing to have.
That'd be great. Great for the community.
Yeah, I mean, the Commodore community that has reproduction Commodore 64 and Amiga boards, so we could have the same thing.
That'd be great. Thanks, Eric. Peter Phillips, how you doing?
All right, a little chilly here, cold rain outside.
Mhm.
Been working on the emulator. There's going to be a new TRS-80 GP release. I should share my screen here. Notably, there's some bugs in HFE support which have been fixed. So I guess they're more significant than I kind of remembered. If you can see the screen here, the new addition is the disassembler window. Now it's a little buggy. I just noticed like minutes before we started this that I had made some kind of error, but the window just allows you to disassemble memory freely rather than just being shown in the debugger. So if you want, you can start at, say, location 100 to location 200 and disassemble it, show the hex or not. And then this is the part that's buggy, but you can also use the Z80 register. So you can disassemble from where the PC is to where the PC is plus 100, disassemble that. And then it knows how to switch processors. So if we switch over to the 68,000, we can do the same disassembly, but it's not doing much because I don't have any operating system. And the only other feature is that it does understand the different processors. So if I'm in the video text emulator, then the disassembly will be the 6809 disassembly as expected.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's about it.
Looks good.
What can you do with the video text emulation?
You can use it as a terminal to your Xenix emulation.
I don't use a lot of emulators. So does it follow calls and jumps and things and start disassembling from the target location?
This disassembler is just straightforward, goes from disassembles a range of memory. It's not like a tracing disassembler. So
Okay.
yeah, you have to go in and clean things up. It's not fancy.
Yeah.
We don't need fancy. We're TRS-80 fans. Simple. All right.
Elegant.
Thank you, Peter. Jay Newworth.
Yes, how you doing, everybody?
Good.
Just to show you a surprise, look what I got.
Uh-huh.
Got one.
That's a half of a power supply.
Yeah, I actually wrote emails to both Amgis and Tolima and got responses. Tolima is pretty much saying it's just a backlog of work. And again, they just keep referring, if you want to buy them, you just have to put an order in with DigiKey and back order them. Amgis was a little bit, I never really could understand what they're saying, but they're saying there's supposed to be 12 and 6 pieces of the 2 supplies in March at DigiKey, but I don't know. Right now, DigiKey only has 12 of the 6361 and 2 of the 70061, but the other 2 zip, 0. So at least I got one of them, and I got the other ones on back order like Vernon does. So that's about it on that. Power supplies are doing well. People are buying them, and a lot of people are very happy with them. So that's about it, really.
Anybody not happy with them, Jay?
Oh, I hope not. Oh, and I've got another set of the Model 2 keyboard badges, and so if you need them, I got them.
What was
Peter.
that? Keyboards?
The Model 2 keyboard.
Oh, the Model 2 keyboard. Sure.
Yeah.
And
Great.
they're nice looking badges.
Thank you.
Did you get some, Eric?
Yes. I've
Uh-huh.
got a couple of Model 2 keyboards that the old badges are just so yellowed
Yeah,
that
they're
it's
yellow.
almost like a piece of amber.
Well, one guy sent me his, and his was not on a yellow, but it looked like a rat had started chewing out on the epoxy and had holes all over the place. But I was able to get a measurement for it, and that's how I got them ordered. So, but like I said, I got them in stock if anybody wants them. Same
And
price.
I want to say I still appreciate the M3 SE or Mies badges that you sent me. They're gone now.
All right. Well, maybe for my birthday, I'll send you some more.
Thanks, Jay. All right. Welcome, John Massari. How you doing?
Hi. It's my first time to one of these.
Welcome.
I've had that TRS-80 since 1980, but I would say I probably only got it really going again within the past year or so. My son wanted me to take it to a retro computer show, and so I got there and I got it set up and it worked, but a lot of my discs wouldn't boot anymore. So Peter got me set up with a Mies. And I think over the holidays, I downloaded all the software I had as a kid and plus lots more. And so I guess right now I'm still exploring all the stuff that was created for the TRS-80. I did have a Chroma TRS also when I was a kid. So I think my next project is going to be to try to, I need to make a cable to let me use that in parallel with the Mies.
Do you still have the Chroma TRS?
Oh yeah, it's right there sitting under that other monitor, but it's not anything yet.
Yeah, that's a rare accessory. That's really nice to have. So
Yeah,
did you have any issues getting the Model 1 working, or it just worked out of the closet?
No, it worked. I mean, it was pretty much boxed up in my parents' basement for 30 years.
Mhm, mhm. Fantastic. Yeah, the Mize is a wonderful product and makes using your computer so much easier, right? Than using the old floppies.
Yes.
Yeah. And a few weeks ago, I posted a VGA FPGA based version of the TMS 9918A that anyone's welcome to use. It could be easily converted to a clone of the Chroma TRS. You just have to change some addresses because I based mine on a 80 microcomputing article from, I think it was 1981, that was called the Microcolor, which is the same as the Chroma TRS. I just think that the IO addresses are a little bit different.
Yeah, I'd like to get the original hardware working, though. That's kind of my goal. I do still have all the manuals and software and stuff for it. That disk, actually, I could read once I had the Mies or the Mize, to boot from.
Yeah, the community might be interested in that software if we don't already have it. You may know that Ian Maverick makes a reproduction Chroma TRS, but I think we're still missing some of the software that was available for it. So,
Okay, yeah, I mean, let me know where to send it. I mean, I have, what was it, Chroma Basic and everything that was on the discs that came with it.
great. Very
Get
cool.
that archived.
Yeah, before it disintegrates.
Mhm.
Hopefully
Well,
those discs are in good shape.
Yeah, that one was in good shape. And I transferred it all over to the Mize now too, so it's
Great.
preserved there.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thanks, John, for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. Vernon Hester, how you been, sir?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I've ordered the Model 1 version of Fred. That should be here in a couple of weeks, according to the shipping notice. I've also gotten the Model 4 working, and I'm working on the Model 3, and I actually should have that done by the end of the month, which is only 2 days. So, and once the Model 1 gets here, I'll get that done. There's about 18 programs I need to provide to give the customer complete flexibility in using multi-DOS with it. And of those 18 programs, I've only finished 6. So I have a long ways to go.
Okay.
That's about
Yeah,
it.
could I break in there, Peter?
Go ahead.
With reference to Fred. I'm using multi-DOS on the TRS-80 emulator to run Astracal, and it runs pretty successfully. But I would really like to have multi-DOS, Vernon's multi-DOS, available on a hard drive so it can operate on the Fred. And I'd like to ask Vernon, does he have any plans in that respect to provide the software for the people who, like Ian, who are putting the Fred together, so that Fred can be so that multi-DOS can be one of the options that you select when you boot up Fred? That's my question.
Okay, the answer is Fred is running. I have it up and running on the Model 4, but I use the boot floppy to boot it. You put a boot floppy in and it'll boot up the multi-DOS version of Fred. That's up and running. That's available now. That's done. That part is done. The Model 3 and the Model 1 aren't done yet.
So
So you're saying
Vernon is working on it.
So you say you just need the boot disk to get Model 4 version running?
I have the boot disk.
I'm saying that's all you really need then, right?
Well, you also need the
Well,
Fred image updated with multi-DOS.
oh, okay.
I think I'm probably the only one who has a copy of it. I don't know exactly how to get it to Ian. Or I can send it to someone directly. You know, Ian doesn't have to be the
What about through IRA?
store.
Ira Goldklanger, or Goldklang, I mean, in California. He does who has what's his website?
TRS-80.com.
Yeah. I mean, that might be a good source to put it.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Vernon. I see
Sure.
Joel has joined us. Hey, Joel. So Joel has, you let me know if you're ready to do this demo, Joel. I know it might be fairly complex.
I actually need to grab my gimbal real quick for the other camera before I can present. But yeah, I'm almost ready.
Okay. Well, you let me know when you're ready. Just signal me and we'll get you going.
Sure.
So Joel is going to be demonstrating a hopefully working Network 3 environment. So multiple TRS-80s networked with the old Network 3 device. Some of you may be familiar with it. It was a device used in primarily, I guess, in schools to network a large number of TRS-80 computers to use a single host system. And I don't know if there's been a working demonstration of one. I had one working down here. I had it working between two computers, but I've never done anything dramatic with it. I think Joel has kind of moved to the next level with it, and he's really been invested in it and working to make it into a proper demonstration of what that technology was capable of. So it should be really exciting to see. Maybe the first time we'll see a working Network 3 environment in many a year. Okay. Al Schemmer. How you doing, Al?
Oh, I'm hanging in there.
Good,
And
good to hear.
my hair just kind of slid off.
Well, you got the beard title in the group tonight, so.
Right. That works. So,
What have you been up to?
just trying to keep up with work. I haven't even gotten my bench cleared off yet to do anything. So all my TRS-80 Model 3s and 4s are just sitting there, and I've got two Model 1s in the closet. One's my original one that somehow had the board sticking out, and I've got broken pins on the Percom doubler, and yeah. It's going to be a nightmare to fix it up. I think I'm going to have a donor Model 1 to make it work.
Yeah, those doubler cards, those pins are very delicate. I have, I think, one or two boards with broken pins on them.
I did find a picture of my original Model 3 with a 300 baud modem and with a Epson MX80 printer, which I should have around someplace. And those two drives are off of my Model 1, but that was my first bulletin board back in 1984.
Wow.
What was the name of the bulletin board?
Trash 80.
Perfect. So you had a single line going into it, or how more than one line?
A single phone line in it. And I helped a friend. He was running a Cocoa bulletin board, and I did most of the coding on that.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for joining us, Al.
Yeah, actually, the bulletin board was based off of software from this book.
Huh.
How to create your own bulletin board.
Yeah, in the back, it's got code for the Tandy TRS-80 Model 1 and an Apple. So, but I checked that out from the library and fixed it up and modified it heavily.
Oh, I'm gonna have to find a copy of
Wow.
that book. That looks interesting.
I'm
Yeah,
still
that's-
trying to find the original discs. Yeah, I found one of the files as an ASCII dump on another bulletin board that I'd run. that I had archived all my Tandy programs on, but I don't seem to have the init programs and the message program and the other programs that went with it.
Cool. Well, I never ran a bulletin board, so I'm just curious. So you would have it connected. How did you leave it connected all day and have people calling in the middle of the night to your TRS-80?
Yes. So I had a Novation JCAT modem, which was a 300 baud. That's not in this picture. This is actually a Tandy modem on this one. So I'd actually have to pick up the phone and flip the switch to answer. But there was a program called Host 80, I believe it was, that basically echoed anything that was written out to the video buffer, also went out the serial port, and anything that came in the serial port went to the keyboard interrupts. So, and it all hinged off of whether DTR was high or low, and it answered on ring indicate.
So in the middle of the night, you'd start hearing those disk drives whirring.
Yeah, well, it was in another room. So yes, I actually had long distance callers call up in the middle of the night.
Al, with those original shoegate drives that you were using, were they somebody else's?
They were original shoe guards.
Yeah, because I had a bulletin board with 4 of them, and during the night you could hear clink, 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 clink,
right,
all night long. I mean, yeah,
that's awesome.
It was a wild time.
My programs were big enough that I had to swap them out to, like when you went to compose a message, I had a full screen editor, so it had to swap out the main bulletin board program and load the other one. So
wow.
Yeah, drive 0 pretty much was filled up with just the program, and the data files were on drives 1, 2, and 3.
Right, that's how mine was.
Oh, you don't remember what software you ran?
I actually wrote it. I wrote my own, and then I had an engineer devise the part of the code that required, the answering of the phone, setting up the dial tone, and all that, because I didn't understand that. I just wrote the basic program, and we had 12 farmers who used it.
Oh, nice.
So, and it was fun to watch them have their dialects back and forth. It was quite interesting. But yeah, and it was started off when I did it was on the LNW, actually, when I got it working. But then we moved to a complete Model 1 with the expansion interface, the 4 drives, the modem. And that thing ran solid as a rock. I mean, no problems with it. It just kept going and going and going until finally we just didn't have any more nobody else was calling up anymore. So we took it down. But for when it ran, it was fun. It really was.
Do you still have the software for it?
No, I lost that years ago, and I bite my tongue every time I think about it that I never say that stuff.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of software that I've lost over the years. So mine originally started out on a Model 1 and moved up to the Model 3 when I got a Model 3 in 1984. So I think it was 1983 that I was running it on a Model 1.
Is that book available anywhere that you just showed?
What's that?
Is the book you just showed us, is that available anywhere?
I got it from thriftbooks.com.
Okay.
So
I'd like to see that in an archive.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it scanned online anywhere. However, the pages aren't that great, but they're readable.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely 8-bit dot matrix printout. So if you really want, I could probably scan or take pictures of the pages with the code on it.
Okay.
Otherwise, I went to thriftbooks.com and I found a copy there. I actually found 2 copies. I also have it in hardcover.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Al.
Yep.
Hey, Quentin, How's it going, man?
Hey, great. I actually did a little TRS-80 work this last
Yay.
month. I added a couple of new function calls to my copy of Eric Smith DMK lib library. The new calls allows me to keep reading DMK files after they return ID or data CRC errors, which IRA always seems to have those DMK files with those CRC errors in them. With that fixed, I was able to update my DMK check and my DMK dump tools. So I made new versions of them. So also being able to now read through CRC errors, and new binaries of the new releases are available for MS-DOS, Windows, and Linux under my GitHub repos. So I'll post some links to those in case anyone wants to play with them. I noticed on Ira's website, he posted announcements for my new releases, and he did some nice things where he showed screenshots of the tools in use, which then made me realize I don't explain on those repos how you use the tools or what it looks like either. So I thank Ira for that, and I'll need to solve that in those repos at some point. That's all I had to add this time.
Documentation is the bane of the programmer, I know.
Yes.
Cool. Thanks, Quentin.
Sure.
All right, so Joel tells me that he is ready to do his demo.
If his house doesn't explode.
There we go. So I'm making sure I'm not feeding back. Let's flip this around. So I had some last minute, real quick, before starting the Network 3 stuff. I had some last minute stuff get dropped off. They found some stuff. You guys are familiar with Computer Reset. Looks like they found some stuff today. And Raymond dropped it off to me. And so I thought it was interesting. I'm getting to see this stuff for the first time. So I'm not sure exactly what's in here, but there's a couple of binders. One of them is white. So I thought that was interesting. This one looks to be TRS-80 System 2 binder. There's quite a few. Let's look at this. This one caught my eye. MicroPro Super Sort. It shows up. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Is that Model 2 software?
I don't see any discs. Do what? Say that again.
Is that Model 2 software?
It's looking like it had an 8-inch floppy, but I'm not seeing a floppy disk in here. I'll have to look at it, but I'm thinking so.
The Super Sort would be CPM.
Yep, I was getting ready to say that. That went with WordStar.
Okay.
Yep. And WordMaster and
the TRS-80 means business.
Yep.
Joel, look on the back of that white binder.
Yeah, it says WordStar on it.
Look on.
WordStar version 2.1. Nice. Interesting. PET, CPM, MBasic. Interesting. Some interesting stuff in here. I'll go through and try to get some pictures. Here's PNT CPM2 for the TRS-80 Model 2 user's manual. So pickles and trout. Well, that's really cool.
Which version of CPM?
So that's pretty neat.
Very cool.
You live in
Gotta get
Dallas, Joel?
Do what?
You live in the Dallas area?
Yep. Up there in Little Wow, there's some pretty neat stuff. I'll get some pictures of this. I'll get it posted so everybody can get a better look at it. There's a lot to go through here. Sorry, I thought I'd be able to do that, but there's a lot in that box. I was only expecting a few discs. All right, let's do this.
Was that the box that those the boxes that disappeared?
Disappeared. I'm not sure.
There was something posted on the Discord about some things that got taken at Computer Reset.
Yeah, those were IBM workstations.
There was a break-in.
Okay.
Yeah, surprisingly, a TRS-80 Model 4 is in that list of stolen items. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that one as well. See if that pops up anywhere. So yeah, that's that box of stuff. There's tons of stuff in there.
Somebody broke in to steal vintage computer gear? Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
I blame the 8-bit guy.
So hopefully they have the serial number off of it and somebody will track it down as they try to sell it. If they try to sell it.
I doubt they get the serial number.
Yeah.
They filed down the serial number or they stole it.
So to start the story, I guess some of you are familiar with our eBay seller, Microsoftware Pro out there in Florida. And she had this listed for a pretty high price. And I watched it for a little bit because I love any of the educational stuff. And I tried to, see if she'd make an offer. I think, and it did the offer deal where it had offered me a somewhat less price than what she was asking. I think it was somewhere above $300 she wanted just for this. And I could see that the condition it was just going to be merely just having this in the collection is, oh, cool, neat. Probably would never get to use it. I did not think that I would get to use it for a long time, but turns out that changed. But I kept talking with her and I finally got her down to less than $100 and she agreed. And yeah, she sent it to me. And the discs were not in the best of shape when I got them. They were pretty darn moldy. Some of you have seen where I posted on the cleanup on all of those. And I actually still have them here in the folder here somewhere. Yeah, I keep them still in here. I'll eventually get them put into a bag or something and put them away. But I've been using fresh copies, from the images that I've dumped. But yeah, it comes with these 2 diskettes. And so essentially, this is the network student software for the student systems. You would use this to boot them if they had a disk system in it. If not, you could load it from cassette using either a cassette or the Network 2. Or you can actually load it from the host, which I'll show here. I'll try to do here in a minute. My Network 2, for some reason, is either I've got the wrong cables or it's got an issue where it's having some issues getting the signal transferred correctly. And then the second disk here is the Network 3 operating system for the hard disk. And some of you have noted that there's also the Network 3 operating system that was already recovered and out there. But that one, I believe, just runs off the floppies. It's not meant for a hard disk system. So you would be just using the 2 floppy drives, whereas this one actually installs on a hard disk, which I have it set up on. And it actually gives you a whole lot more space, and it's a little bit quicker. So that's the software in the book. The book's not in too terrible condition. I am going to try to get it scanned. This is the only page that's probably falling out. Everything else is in quite good shape. But it has information on the operating system, the network basic language. It has a teacher's reference for hiding files and getting things set up so students can't tear your system down. And then the appendices contain information on how to get it installed, how to get it set up, how to set up the hard drive. This actually I kept thinking that I was going to have to use because it says in the beginning that I would have to use the LDOS 1513 setup. And it says that you have to have both of those disks, but it never actually called for the hard disk operating system disk for the original LDOS system. You basically boot the system using the initialization disk, and then on here is a job control file called educ init, and it actually sets up the hard drive. It actually is meant for, I think, the 15 megabyte. So I don't think it gives you an option to actually choose, but I think it'll actually probably just format a 5 or 15 megabyte depending on how it does it. But I learned that was one of the first things I learned was that LDOS actually uses partitions for like heads and cylinders. So whereas other things you just get a flat drive, you could get like 6 different hard drives from one actual physical hard drive. And so that was one of the neat things that I learned about the software. Okay, so let's boot it up. Let's get it going here real quick. I've got it set to really slow because it goes really fast. So when it's altering my camera, so sorry about that. So first things first, everything should be powered up. Let's bring up the hard drive. This guy was fun. Some of you on the Discord have seen the nightmare that I've been going through getting this thing running. But essentially it's running my third board that I had actually found that actually ran and didn't need any alignment maintenance yet. Probably does, but it's working so far. So it managed to get me back on track. I was almost out of having a hard drive. I got the host software to run on the Fred and it seemed fine, but then my machine with the Fred on it is started acting up, and its serial port doesn't want to work anymore. So I have some work ahead of me there. But luckily, I have another Model 4 host that got me running. So I've got, this is the old HX 8x300 controller. So it's the older, larger controller. It's running an emulated hard drive, the DG-MFM hard drive emulator, and it is emulating the TM503 that was originally in here. I just basically copied the file, backed up the original one, and then used this one to reformat. And then, so it, as far as it knows, it thinks it's still working with the original disk drive that was in here. So on top here is the Network 3. There's not too much to show on the front of it. I'll get some photos of the back and post them, but it's essentially 16 RS-232 ports plus a 17th for the host, and then a power port for the TRS-80 power pack, which is essentially the same power pack for the Model 1s. Okay, so that stuff's ready to go. We can fire up the host system. So the host system is just running LDOS 513. It has a Fred ROM, but I don't have it set up to do any kind of emulation, so I still need my startup diskette. And so basically we just bring the system up. This was my first Model 1 that I got, so I actually upgraded the drives from a compact portable 1. It had a couple of double-sided 360s in it, so it's been running them ever since. They're extremely quiet, and they've been efficient so far and have not messed up.
Those drives look really good in there.
Yeah.
Nice. They actually look almost like they look similar to the ones that in the Tandy, the later Tandy. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anyways, come on, Gimbal, work with me here.
They look like Panasonic drives.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's just choose a year. Come on. So this keyboard, it shows us as a host because this keyboard doesn't work as well. It needs its attention again. I think I've already serviced it once, but I didn't do a pretty good job because it was probably my first one. Anyway, host is running. We don't have to type too many options. First, I'll do a dir here so you guys can get an idea of the files on the drive. And so I've basically set up, drive 0 has to have the student stuff on it. It needs to have the host file and basically all the files. That's basically how it sets itself up, is it copies everything to 0, and you get just hard drives 1 through, I think, 6 are yours to put whatever you want on it, to load your student files and all that other stuff. This 15 megabyte drive roughly formatted to about 2.4 megabytes per drive per head. So I got 6 drives at about 2.4 megs. It's pretty neat. I think the math comes out right there. But yeah, so we have the host file, which actually hosts the Network 3 program. There's a couple of files on here for doing tape load, where you can actually tell this guy to tape load, and that's why I haven't started the host program yet, because we're going to try a tape load using these other systems here in a second. But yeah, so that's all the student stuff. The Network 3 stuff is here on drive 0. You'll notice mailbox. That's one of the demonstration programs. There's another one I haven't tried. There's a date set and a time set, which will actually set the date and time on the student systems. There's our Net2 JCL, which I'll show you in a second. And then I've loaded some games here on the second drive, which is the one where I'm using to, install the games. The rest of the drives are empty. And then, of course, it's going to go read the actual floppies. So when I launch the host program, this thing will become, it won't be a usable interface. It'll tell you information, but you can't use this computer. It'll essentially give these drives and the hard drive and the printer to everybody else on the network. So let's see, let's get through that. So that's all the information that's just on the startup disk, which doesn't even need to be in there. So let's fire up some student stations. I have 4 stations set up. The first one here is just a 128K non-gate array Model 4. I have it set up with a GoTex to just boot the student software. It does not have the student loader in ROM. So I'll fire that one up. Next one here is the 4D. This one has the loader in ROM, so it's really neat to set up. I don't have to have a disk or anything. I can actually just tell it to pull itself. It will pull the student software down via from the RS-232 port. So we can actually say enter as the guide, the documentation says. System. Oops. And the code for the Model 4s is 12363. And I think for the Model 3, it's 12327, I believe. But then you hit enter and you can actually, oh, I don't have the host running. LOL. Funny stuff. My bad. We'll break that up. We'll come back to that. First, I'll show you what I'm getting when I try to load the the cassette software. When I try to load things via cassette, I'll show you what I'm getting from it. We'll fire up the 4P and get it ready.
Damn.
All right, so this is the Model 3. I should be able to just send a cassette file, and it comes with a program to do so. So on the Model 3, you call up system again, like you're going to load a tape, and you call student. Actually, student, it's only 6 characters, but it says the type student. So we call student, and then you see down here on the network 2, I've got him plugged into 8. And so it's now waiting, it's listening for the file. So up here, LDOS came with another JCL that does the tape loading to send the student software via the tape. But I don't know if it's because this is a Model 4 and its operating frequency is different than the Model 3s, or if something's wrong with the hardware that goes to my tape side, or something's wrong with the hardware for the tape side on the Model 3. I'm not exactly sure, but they have the command. You just call do net2. And when you do so, it'll run through a command, and it loads everything up in memory and gets it ready and asks for high and low. The paperwork says to give it high, because I guess that's the default mode, 1500 baud that it starts up. And I'm making sure I'm in 1500 baud. And I hear it click. I hear a relay click in Model 4, but then instantly on the screen here, I get the D, which stands for like data or something. And then the relay just stopped clicking and it's like, I guess, froze. I don't know if that's still delivering data or not. I've let this sit for a while and it never really changes. So I'm assuming that I know the other one, it says C, it's a CRC error. So I know when it says D, it's a data error or something, or where it's, I don't know. Maybe there's something interfering. I've made sure that no cables run near power, but I think I ordered MIDI cables that are guaranteed, they're 5-pin and they are through all 5 pins. I don't think anything shorts to each other, but I will check them. They didn't have a lot of impedance. So I'm thinking either my power supply might be too noisy for this, or this just may need some service. There may be something going on inside of it, or I may just be doing it wrong. Could be something wrong with it. There's just multiple areas where things could be wrong. So I've kind of given up on that front. We'll come back to it. The network 3-part works, and that's the fun part that I get to show. So we'll reboot this guy, and I've got, again, it's loaded with a GoTech, so he'll just boot the student software off the disk. Same here. This guy's already booted and ready and waiting. I'll probably have to reboot them since I don't have the host program running. This one and the Model 4P will actually load because they both have the loader and ROM. This one, of course, you have to have something with the Model 3A ROM file. But once you do, it's the same thing as a Model 3. So let's start host on the host. And it asks you just baud rate. If you want to select a lower baud rate, if you had a classroom of 16 systems, or you had multiple network 3s and you were running multiple hosts, multiple classrooms, student stations, you could lower the baud rate to help deal with congestion, but it would also slow things down. Also would help with, I guess, error correction if you were in a highly noisy environment. So I just say enter, and it goes at the standard 9600 baud rate. And we're given a screen here. I'll get close so you guys can see that, sorry. So you can see it's the Model 3, Network 3 host, 214. It's microsystem software, licensed to Tandy. And here we have indicators that tell us when a student station will be talking, when a student station is spooling something to print, and when they have any files open on the host, either from the floppy or the hard drive. So the host is running. I will probably I'm gonna go ahead just for giggles, we'll reset that one and we'll load this one here. So we press break just to go into Model 3 set basic. And call system again. Okay, that didn't work. Operating with one hand here, so sorry about that. Let's see. So then we call system 12363. And over here, you'll see an asterisk indicating that we're getting activity. And it's loaded, asking for a baud rate. You just say enter, and we are in the network 3 prompt, which is essentially a network version of kind of like LDOS. This one's here ready to go as well. We'll reset this one as well because I don't think I had the host running when I ran him up. And then of course the Model 4. So this one's gonna be a little trickier because I need to use both hands. So break, reset, enter. And this is my personal favorite for playing with the Network 3 because this one actually has the speaker and everything all inside, and it's all the games seem to present a good sound. Whereas the others, I've got to go hook up speakers. But yeah, it loads just as well. I can't get over to the host station fast enough to show you the activity on it. But we'll do a tour here. So now that I'm on the thing, I can actually draw the drives. It's not like if you're on a regular, if you're at the console, dir will only give you 0. So like here, if I just say dir, it will only spit out drive 0's contents. If I want any of the other drives, I actually have to call them by their drive number. And so, of course, it's going to do a dir of drive 0. And I'll give you an idea of how long. So yeah, that's about how long it takes to pull a directory listing via the RS-232 port. Let's go dir 1. I need to adjust this one. This looks like somebody played with it before and has it super wide, so things look super tall. Need to pull up the diagnostics and adjust the screen, get it set to the right thing. So there's all the games there loaded that we can pull up, so we can call up robot. And so just to give you an idea of how long it takes to pull a game, it's I think I timed it earlier to about 20 seconds. But yeah, any machine language, or I guess system language games, basic games, you can actually call basic games that are meant for the Model 3 Basic, and they should run in Network 3 Basic. And if not, just a little bit of alteration, and they should come up. So like, for instance, let's do, where'd it go? Mailbox, because Mailbox is one of the basic programs that they have as an introduction. And it's kind of like a bulletin board / messaging system. But yeah, basically we say, I'll just go ahead and call it straight from program. I'll straight to it before, instead of just starting in basic. And we'll start in basic one on the other here to show the in basic screen that comes up. And so yeah, you get a neat little post office program here. So I'd say, are there any messages for me? And I think I still have one in here for everyone. So if the teacher wanted to send, to class, you could say, class, there's a message under class, just take a look. I might have deleted it, maybe. I don't know if I still have it saved or not. And so it'll basically look, and if you have a message for them, then, oh, okay, so I guess I deleted it. But yeah, you could say, one, I'd like to send a message. Who do you want to send it to? And so you'll say student 1, and like, hello, student.
And imagine the fun kids had with this program.
Right. And then you just hit enter when you're done with your message. And then the student would come in, say, are there any messages for me? Yes, I am student 1. And say, I'm looking. It's like, hello, student 1.
Jeez.
So yeah, and you can actually, so let's take a look at the banner for Network Basics. You just say in basic, And there we go. So now we're actually in Network 3 Basic, which has some special networking commands that are actually in the documentation that's up on that was already up there. It's in this binder. It was supposed to be on like a pink pamphlet or a pink insert, and it did not make it. I guess I didn't see it, or I have not found it. But it is. I did find it in the other Network 3 documentation that was already online, and it has the insert. Somebody was able to record the insert that has the Network 3 basic commands. So that's my fun exploration that I'll get to do, is to learn how to work with basic over a network. Also, some of you have seen, I've probably, in the Discord that I've been typing, for those who haven't, I'm also going to test out the theory and idea of maybe exposing 4 of the RS-232 ports on this guy to their own logical ports via software to, I guess, my router's interface, and maybe set up and try to see if it'll work. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know how this guy's going to interpret it, or how it will work with RS-232 and working with newer protocols and the internet and stuff. Haven't looked at it all right yet. So, but I would like to try the idea of exposing 4 ports and maybe having folks be able to have a little virtual LAN party where you guys can pull up your TRS-80s, put in what is the Y232 modem, plug that guy in, directly port in, and connect to my hard drive and play whatever games you want to play. Or if you want to load up games, use the school system as a bulletin board, maybe. Totally fun, totally a bunch of fun ideas to do with this system.
Was that a very popular item back in the day?
The Network 3?
Yeah.
I am honestly not sure. I'm still learning, honestly, about it and its history.
Yeah.
I know that in
I'm wondering
Canada,
how successful it was to Radio Shack. I mean, to Tandy or Radio Shack.
in Canada, in Radio Shack Canada, I know that at our store we had sold 4 systems like that for schools.
Okay.
Very popular, no, but schools that had, because back then the competition was between the TRS-80 workstations like this with the terminals and the Apples. So
Okay.
it was a mix of both. But the schools that had the TRS-80 computers, they used Network 3 and Network 2. And it worked very well.
Mhm. That's
Interesting. If you read the Network 3 documentation, it mentions connecting a Model 2 and also a Coco to this network. But I've never seen the software for either. So I'm not sure if they ever actually released it for either one.
I was wondering if we could possibly take the student disk and maybe take the files and convert them to maybe an 8-inch floppy, and I'll try to plug the Network 2. It says you're supposed to plug it into port A, not port B, because I think A is the asynchronous port, right? Or which one? I forget which ports are which on the back of the Model 2.
Well,
But
the
it says it has,
software definitely wouldn't work because that's LDOS 513. If it was LDOS 6, we'd have a shot at it. But there's no LDOS 5 that runs on the 8-inch systems.
the student system, I got that wrong. The student software is TRS-DOS 1.3. Do you think there's a compatible file system?
No.
Dang.
I would think the serial ports on, did they virtualize or did they give device names to the COM ports on the LDOS stuff? I know they didn't on TRS-DOS, but they didn't do much LDOS work.
I mean, like in this software?
On LDOS in general, if you think about a PC, you got the concept of a COM 1 and COM 2, and it doesn't matter where it's at in hardware and a few other things. I would, the serial port on the Model 3 versus the Model 2 is drastically different. So if it's directly accessing the hardware, it's not going to work. If it's the system level software handling the serial COM driver, then maybe you got a shot.
Yes, because TRS-DOS 2 for the Model 2 used COM A and COM B, and I think that was carried over from 1.2. TRS-DOS, of course, 1.1, you had to write your own serial drivers. So Yeah, sorry.
That you're kind of hitting on what I was asking. So
Wow. So then I will definitely have to keep an eye out for some Model 2 software. Who knows? Maybe Micro Software Pro will continue to post things. It was sad to learn that the person who that's account is actually being portrayed as has actually passed away. She passed away, I think, in either November or September of last year, just recently. But I know I've talked with her, and some of the times it was a pretty good talk. Some of the times it was not fun. She seemed kind of incoherent at times, but I'm glad I was able to rescue some of this great TRS-80 stuff out of the locker, wherever or whoever it came from. It's now working and back and going. And yeah, thank you, Pete, for helping me complete the process and get a system going here. This thing's been amazing. It's still so much I'm learning about it. It's like the educational stuff is totally tripping on me right now. So
Gonna have that at TA?
Man, if I can get it up there.
That would be
You
nice
can
to
get
see up there, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it would be. It really gives a great, it gives a great insight into, the educational side of the business was a huge component, right? Of Radio Shack's business. So this is, we don't talk about it a lot in the hobby, but it's great to see some effort in getting this restored and putting it in its proper place. Yeah.
Yep. Now my goal is to start finding these. Hang on, sorry, I got to use two hands here. My goal is to start locating these awesome titles. So this is the cassette version. I've had this for a while, and it's compatible with this, but it means me taking. There's a process. I'll try to I'll get this other one scanned so you guys can see, but there's a process where it guides you to take these cassette tapes and make them into diskette form so that you can put them on to the hard drive and students, and you can use this software again. But this is only the cassette version. I actually found the diskette version popped up on eBay just the other day. So yeah, that took no thought at all before I hit the buy button on that one.
It's interesting that there's a Model 2 on the front of that too.
Yeah. Yep.
I saw that.
Yeah. You can definitely see that that guy's definitely working with a Model 2 there.
Oh, wow.
It's a miniaturized Model 2, but it's a Model 2.
It's the teacher station.
Maybe it's just a very big kid.
Is that the father, or is that
no? John Cena. No, I love the artwork on these though. I mean, some of these I'll get saved, and if I can, I'll put them in a nice box frame to hang them up on the wall where they can actually be seen, because they're just really cool looking. They've got that late 70s, early 80s essence vibe going. So just really cool. But yeah, they all get the gimbal to cooperate with me here. They all seem to love the Network 3. They seem to be working. My two baddies up here. This guy, for some reason, I see it raise the negative voltages for the serial card, but for some reason, even with a working serial card, the motherboard doesn't want to talk. And then I think this one's just backwards. I just need to go open it up again and then flip the power and give the serial card its negative 12. And then I'll have 6 that should be able to connect. And then, yeah, if we can recover the Model 2 software, I'll try to hook up one of these Model 2s to it. See if we can get that going, because that'll be really interesting. I'd like to see that.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Joel. That's fantastic.
Thank you very much, Joel.
Yep.
So I think Joel's giving Pete a run for the money. I'm sitting there watching all these machines scrolling by.
Yeah, finally getting my collection home. It's been in storage for a couple of years, but do what?
I was going to say that's just one room.
Yeah, I've got some stuff in the garage and a few more items to get in here and get them in their space and spot, but it's slowly taking time.
All right. I also sent you an email on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it, but your Model 2 badges went out today.
Yes, I did. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Patrick Bureau, how you doing?
Hello. I hope you can hear me.
Yep, we can hear you.
Well, it's been quite a while I've had anything to say through all the months past. I've been working with somebody, and some of you probably have a hint where this is coming from, but I've been helping somebody try to refine a product that I'm really excited about it. Sorry, I keep looking up because I'm looking at the tab screen. Let me bring this down here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so basically, the product, which is, let's see if I can get it properly. I hate this back screen shit.
Yeah, we can't see it.
Hang on. How do I turn off? Bear with me for a second. I didn't expect that to be a problem.
Should be under video backgrounds or something, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I'm not very good with this program and never know where the damn buttons are to turn off the background here. Choose virtual background. Apologies. Background, none. All right, now you can see my wife playing on her video on her computer. So basically this little card here. This is a complete floppy disk controller and floppies at the same time.
What?
So basically it replaces with an SD card. It's got a little SD card loader up here. Sorry, I'm not good with mirrors. And it's got an edge connector on the end of the cable at the other end. And basically you plug it directly on the motherboard. This plugs directly to the motherboard. It is a floppy disk controller and 4 floppies or up to 4 floppies that you want. Basically, it uses a Pi and the code is all being programmed. You load DMK images on it, and the guy designing it is making a program called FDC, and it's basically a menu driven. You can select the images and then on what slot, like 0, 1, 2, 3, that you want to put them on. I've tested it so far with LDOS, LDOS 5.6, TRS-DOS, Model 3, Model 4, CPM 2.2. All of that works beautifully. I've tested it as a boot disk for Fred, so not with the AutoBoot chip. It doesn't work with that yet. It works. It doesn't recognize the floppy disks. It's weird. It'll actually access it, but it doesn't recognize them. But as a boot disk, so like if you had a floppy with a Fred, this would replace that without a problem, and you'd have 2 floppies with the Fred partitions. There's some issues with new DOS, DOS plus, multi-DOS. It's a question that there's a timing issue. It doesn't always recognize that the image is ready, as in like drive is ready. It supports long file name. We're working on a whole bunch of other things to make it work with it. It's very early. There's only a few examples out there that he's made. And we're on our 4th revision of the firmware in 2 weeks. We both work on it every night. So it basically, you can take a motherboard, it plugs on the 20-pin slot on the back of the motherboard, like a Model 3 or Model 4. It's not designed for Model 1 yet. He's working on that. But like on a Model 3, Model 4, NGA, on the Model 4 is the non-gate array, the 4 gate array and the 4P. Now I don't know if there's any non-gate array 4Ps.
Yes, there are.
Okay, so it'll have to be, I don't have one, he doesn't have one, so we have to look into the connectors, how it will connect, how the board is, because I know the GA boards are built differently. Since everything's incorporated itself. So unless you've got a board that's got a bad floppy disk controller, I guess you could, he's trying to figure that part out where it would actually plug into the chip. But he's one step at a time. It's a lot of things to do testing with. So basically it replaces
the white cable socket.
Yeah, directly on the motherboard. This connector, he's made a BB board. that basically is an edge connector. I don't know if you could see it very well here. I'm not
Well,
good at
first,
this.
don't
It's
you have to
basically-
unsolder the holes on the board though?
No, because the board has a 20-pin slot on the Model 4, the Model 3 and 4, where you normally have a white cable that goes from the motherboard. Not
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
you're replacing completely the floppy disk controller.
Okay, I see
If
what
you-
you're saying.
It goes from the 20 pin and it goes to the floppy disks. This replaces it all.
I know what you're talking about. The little black connectors on the top of the motherboard.
Correct.
Okay.
So this piece here would just slip right into it. So he made a connector, and it spruced to me going like, well, you know what? For people that don't have the white connectors, there may be a new solution on the works here.
That would
basically
be a nice thing.
a nice a little connector like this with regular
Yes.
ribbon cable.
Yes.
That's I went like, dude, you need to start making these in mass because a lot of people are going to want these connectors soon. But
You give
that,
me-
and I went like, I don't know why nobody has ever thought of doing that. But the board is real simple. It's on a Pi, and it's got an SD card that plugs up here. It's got an LED. It's, I don't know, it's like 2 inches long. It looks very big, but it's not. It's the size of my thumb. So it's very small board, and I got really excited because it replaces it all.
Yes.
So it takes a diskless Model 3 and gives it 4 discs.
Correct.
Where do I send my money to?
Yeah, well, I was talking to, and I'm not giving any names up because he doesn't want 1,000 questions. He wants to focus on developing it. And I'm working with him to keep him on track.
You need any beta testers?
I'm currently beta testing it. He's waiting to get a couple more generations because there's quite a little bugs here and there that he wants before. He wants it more stable before. He didn't realize that Q&A is something I've been doing for 40 years. So he was like, oh, I'll break it. Give it to me. I'll break it. No problem. So that's the news, is that we've all been, for the Model 3 and 4 guys, a lot of us have been looking for floppy disk controllers that regularly die for no reason. The chips are getting harder and harder on those boards to find. It's an elegant solution. I know some people have diskless. It'd be a disk, if you make the cable long, this doesn't require a bracket on a diskless system. If you make the cable long enough, you can plug it on the system and drop it back down the back side of it where the hole for the disk drive is, and you could have this as an external solution. I just have a short cable, but you could put a long cable, and you could have it drop out and put a little box like a fret box.
Pat, the connector that goes into the motherboard, did he custom design that, or is it something on it that he made up? Is it
The little edge connector?
The little breadboard. Did he make that himself?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it looks like it's just an 032 thick FR4 board with a header on it is what it looks like, and finger edges.
Yeah, basically it's just
it's a thin board.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a thin board. Yeah, it's a thin board. It's just a 20 pin IDC to a thin board.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not.
The key is the thinness. You get standard board is 062, and you can go down to as thin as 020.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
It's very thin. So, and this just basically plugs into the slot.
Yeah.
So it's an elegant solution, and it works really well, and it's very quick. I've been testing games. I haven't done any timing of yet. We're working on doing comparison testing. I've had it running on Model 4 at 6 megahertz. I've had zero problems with it whatsoever with the speed kit. So yeah, it's a future little product that's going to be coming out. He wants it to be out before TA. So either him or me or both of us will go over there and bring some over there for the fun demonstration of that. But yeah, that's coming down the lane.
That looks good.
Put me down on the list. I'll take one.
Me too.
I told them there might be a few takers.
Oh, yeah,
Actually, I'll take about 4 of them.
going to be a winner.
The solution should not be expensive. He's still working out the total amount for one build. But find a floppy disk controller is what, $65 to $100 just for the controller, if you can find one. And then floppy disks they've gone ridiculous at this point. You can get dead drives for $100, $150. It's just insane. The prices have gone crazy. So it gives you 4 floppy disks and a controller for one simple price. So it'll be a good option to have on hand.
Yes.
So quick question, as you've been beta testing it, I think back to all the discussions George has talked about on floppy disk emulation and the timing and all the stuff that goes with that. Are you finding issues not just between operating systems, but like take super utility or a disk copier or whatever, and then there's variations from model to model? Has that been a real headache for you, or?
Not so far with DMK. Now he's got plans to also support HFE and maybe another format. But I have not found. I've run.
I'm not asking about the disk formats. I'm talking about the actual emulation of the floppy disk controller, because that's what you're doing. You're emulating the floppy disk controller.
Formatting, copying, and all that. I have not had any problems.
Okay, good. That's good to hear.
It seems to be. I mean, on the operating system that it currently works, that has no timing issues. And I don't know why you'd get a new DOS says drive not ready. It boots from it, and then any command you try to make it do, it says drive not ready, for example, and that's a new DOS problem we have, and we don't know why it's doing it. He's investigating that. So I don't know if it's a timing issue or it's just something in his code that's not working properly. But under TRS-DOS and LDOS, flawless, and CPM 2.2, it's flawless. There's no faults, no problems, no bugs. I've played games. I've made copies with Copycat. I've used super utility to make copies and format diskettes, and there's been zero problems.
Sorry, Patrick, I'm just wondering whether it's a head load timing issue, similar to what I think George and Peter went through with the Model 2 emulation on TRS-80 GP, in that you had to do the head load, you had to send the head load signal and it had to come back as ready in a certain period of time, and I'm not sure whether that's sort of the problem.
No, he's going to check. I'll get him a note on that. Any questions?
Wonderful, Patrick.
What's
biggest news since the Fred?
She is presently playing a game called Second Life. Awesome. It's a virtual world thing. She's in a club. It's one of those games where you have one of those avatars that you dress up, whatever, and she's in a club listening to music to a friend. You can send music from your computer to multiple people at the same time, and they listen to it and they chat on typing. As you can hear, she's typing vigorously on her keyboard. It's just called Second Life. I can't give you a whole lot more than that.
Thanks, Patrick.
Any other questions? No, cute.
All right. Let's move on to Dusty.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, should I say good morning?
Yes.
Yeah, things have been quite busy. If you do recall, I was having a look at Dave Dunfield's program for extracting information from using a PC. Now, unfortunately, a lot of time, it seems the Amstrad 1640 isn't 100% compatible. And this is a problem. It won't even start to read as a little program to test the drives. It won't even have any joy with that. So that's unfortunately been put to one side at the minute. The grease weasel and all the bits have arrived, and that does seem to power up and everything, but I've not actually had a successful read on a Tandy disk yet. I'll have to sort of sort out exactly what we need, but things have exploded here. We've come out of the virus restrictions totally, so everything else that I'm involved with, everybody's screaming, can we do this, can we do that? So I'm having to leave one things to sort other bits out, but the important thing is I'm working on the March edition of TRS-8-bit, and all being well, it'll be published a week today. It's on form to be that. I'm just waiting for George to send me, so I'm told from Mal, details about the competition. George, have we decided what exactly we're doing and what the rules are and the requirements? If you could let me know what was decided, I'll get a separate page on the website and an advert in the March edition. 2.46 looks really exciting. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, that's I say that's it, but it's been a bit chaotic at the moment.
Great.
All right, I'll get something to you.
Thank you, Dusty. Peter Bartlett at Bartlett Labs. Anything to report this time around?
I'll be extremely brief because there really is not much to report. I'm basically building and selling my existing units as fast as I can, and it's a one-man show over here. So other than that, there's not much going on.
Okay. You need to hire some gnomes.
Probably. They're in short supply around here. But when it comes right down to it, I only trust myself to build my units and test them and make sure they're perfect before I send them out. So that's what's going on. I've got my prototypes I want to keep working on, but I just never seem to find the time. So I'm just building and selling, which not a bad thing, of course.
No, doing great work, supporting the community, keeping TRS-80s up and running. That's all we need.
So that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Craig Buchanan, welcome.
Hello, Annette. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Have you been with us before? I don't recall.
I have not. No, it's the
Okay.
first time.
First time. You know what happens with the first timers, guys.
Mm-hmm. Nothing good, I'm sure.
You got to tell us your TRS-80 story.
From the beginning of time?
Yes. From the Big Bang Theory on.
One paragraph.
I see. Yeah. How did that go? So before time, I was in high school when I got my Model 1. And I was trying to remember that today. It had the expansion interface and, floppy drives, but I don't remember the order of everything. Like, I know I started with level 2 basic and at least the 16K, although I still have the box it all came in, and the box is labeled 4K, so maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, from that point to today, I use that machine, and obviously I had it in high school. I used it through college, wrote all my papers on it and everything else, and in grad school, and eventually replaced it and moved a couple of times, and it went into storage. And so this month I pulled that box out of storage. So it's been in its box for 30 years.
Mm.
And just slowly, getting all the pieces back together and getting it to work, not wanting to just connect everything up, try and just see if everything works at once in case it doesn't. So where I am is there are two machines along with my original Model 1. it's at some point way back when, I also inherited my dad's LNW-80. So I've got that one. And so I've set up both machines, and the Model 1 is, so far, everything works on it. You know, the monitor, everything. I still haven't, I'm just about to fire up the floppy drives. Haven't done it yet. The LNW, I got nothing. All I've done with it so far is just, check the internal power, and everything looks good, but there's no video. So obviously that's a bigger project. On the Model 1, I ordered it at GoTech, put that on, got it working. Of course, realized I needed a second GoTech or it's not going to do anything much. So I installed that today and it's working. This week, just really for fun, and I can't believe it's silly, but how enjoyable it's been. Also in my containers was a bunch of old, Model 1 cassettes. And so, just using the software, I've been converting them because I have all these unlabeled cassettes and I have no idea what this stuff is. And so I've got a real kick out of finding these old programs. They just pop up in the emulator and you run them and you go, oh, that's what this is. So that's been very fun.
Sure.
So that's kind of my story as far as that goes.
Awesome. Everybody's got an LNW-80 but me.
Probably. I do have a question.
Yeah.
All right. One of the things that I guess this is, it always bugged me way back. The expansion interface. One of the first things you did with one of these was you put on one of the kits to extend all the card edges.
Yep.
To put the better connectors on.
Yeah, they were called gold ends.
You're right.
Gold plug 80 or something. Yeah.
And so that's that's what the system has. But what that meant was, they always show these systems with their little card covers, so that so when you put your cables on, it all looks neat and tidy. And then of course, now that you have this these longer edges, you can't do that anymore, and so none of that fits.
Yep.
And so in my box, I found all the old covers, which I've never used. And I thought to myself, well, these days, of course, with 3D printing, we should just make better covers. Has that ever been done?
They've had people make the original 3D covers, but I haven't seen one that extends out for the gold ends. But I don't see if somebody took measurements why they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that hard to do.
There's the Meyer. It's immersion gold. It's before I start soldering the parts onto the board, it's just, you can't really see it. It's beautiful. It's just all gold.
Yeah.
All the edge connectors are gold, but then I have to cover 90% of it with solder. So that's a replacement for the expansion interface with SD hard drives, or SD floppies. It has a floppy controller. It has, there's the SD. So anyway, that's what that is, but you can't see it. It's a beautiful board until I have to cover it with solder.
I think Ian is selling those gold plugs.
Yes, he is.
He is. I bought a set from him last year.
I don't think it's on his website, but I know I've seen it on eBay.
Yeah,
eBay. It might be. Sounds like there's a small market for covers that fit over gold plug connectors.
Somebody out there who knows how to do CAD should be able to take that file and modify it very easily.
Right.
It might look a little weird, but I mean, because they're sticking out, but
definitely look better than just having what looks like, the motherboard just hanging out everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are,
that's the
are,
only
are you
downside of the
talking?
full
Are you
part.
talking about the case covers?
Do those little plastic that had the little slot on it and you would slide it onto the edge?
Yeah, there's
Well-
there are STL files to make
Yeah,
3D
but what
printing
hit,
of them.
but the problem is that these gold ends extend that out a little, so you'd have to make that, I guess, the plate a little bit thicker.
Yeah, probably.
So that's all it probably would take.
Yep. Well, if somebody wants to take on that project that's listening or watching that has experience with 3D printing, let us know. Thanks, Craig.
You're welcome.
Paul Burrow.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Been a busy month. I've mostly been helping people out most of the month on TRS-80 stuff. In addition to some of the projects I've been working on, I was helping Joel with some of the hard drive stuff problems he was having. Ken and I have been walking him through some of that, and just other odds and ends. I got a local guy that's put together a Fred for him and printed out a case. You can talking about 3D printing. You can find all sorts of stuff on Thingiverse, and takes about 6-7 hours to print out tops, and you end up with something that doesn't look half bad. It's not a nicely molded case, but it's reasonable. Other than that, I've been working on some of my boards that people know about. I've got a couple that are done that I really need to get production stuff done for them, and that's the memory card for the 68K card. Got MMUs, and I've got most of the parts in for that. As some have alluded to, getting parts these days are really tough. In fact, I wonder how FPGAs are going for Peter, because you can't buy a Xilinx FPGA to save your life anywhere right now. So, but I think you're on Altera. Is that correct, Peter? You're on mute, Peter.
Give me a second. Give me a second. Yeah. I'm using an absolutely obsolete Altera FPGA.
Oh, geez.
Which is more than big enough to hold RS-232 floppy controller. Everything I want to put in it. It's always been big enough. So for now, I have 3 products that use the Cyclone 2, which is obsolete. I can still get them.
Okay.
And the Coco prototype, which I've showed before, uses an EP6 CE4, something like that. A much newer one.
Yeah. No, Xilinx is right now.
It needs it because it's got a lot of stuff in it.
No, Xilinx is right now. You look up anywhere, there's quantity 0 everywhere, from the 6 series and 7 series are just unobtainium.
Yeah, and I'm having problems getting decent priced power supplies, FPGA modules, network modules. Everything's just nuts.
Yep. So anyway, I've been redesigning a couple of the boards that I was doing. That I've got a multi-IO board that people kind of know about, and because I'm having to go to different FPGAs and make them larger, I'm actually adding some extra features in that I wanted. So there's going to be a few extra bells and whistles when these things get out to production.
Yeah, well, let's hope this gets straightened out pretty soon, because it's kind
of. Well, I thought it was taking a turn, and this is my job every day, and the company I work for, we manufacture a lot of product, and we're seeing lead times 2023. You order today, and delivery is 2023 for simple things.
Yeah,
it is packed up.
It's crazy.
Yep, it is. So, and you talk about buying cars, your cars are being delayed because the automotive guys can't get parts, and they're being prioritized.
Yeah. I'm not going to belabor the group with my car buying activities.
Yeah,
today,
no,
but
I didn't want to. So, but that's the reason. So, anyway, I've got that, and I've got a new processor card that 68K with the full up features and some extra new features that I'm adding into it with the extra FPGA space. But it'll be a single card. It may end up rolling into being one unified card to have both the 68K and the IO board. So with a single Z80 CPU board, you could recreate a 6000 pretty much straight up, which would be a very interesting small combination. Anyway, well, I'm sorry, with the exception of the floppy disk controller. Anyway, there's that may be maybe I'll look at the new solution that Patrick was talking about, and maybe there can be an adapter cable or something for something like that, because I think it's this, yeah, it's the same floppy disk controller. So that could be an interesting twist for that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that on the 8-inch systems, a solution for that. Yep, that'd be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yep. So
is the floppy disk controller connections and all that the same on the? I'm not
no,
familiar.
it goes on the 86-pin backplane. There's a floppy disk controller along with what's the other serial function? I can't remember. There's another function on that card, but the card that I have will actually. One of the features on it is it has the 40-pin expansion bus. So you could actually do a type 2 hard drive, or that could actually be reprogrammed via the FPGA to do exactly the decoding you're looking for your card. It'd be an adapter, little adapter board that would go to it. Okay. So maybe that would be an interesting twist on that. So I'll wait till I hear what you guys got. And okay. I think it could be a simple adapter board. And a modification of FPGA code. So that's the good thing. So other than that, like I said, I've mostly been helping people this month, and it's been a little satisfying just doing that. So
thank you, Paul, and thank you for your contributions to the community. Who do we have left? Hey, Paul Metcalf. Anything to report?
Oh, just a couple of repairs. Model 1 has bit the dust at the moment. I have to rebuild the onboard power section of it. It's had a failure on one of the regulators. And before that, I was having a video jitter issue, and I think I've got to rebuild the video section. Probably one of the transistors in that circuit is probably failing. So once I get that going again, the next project I've got is a new Chroma TRS board that I just got in today from Ian, and hopefully be able to build that up soon. In search of a compact power supply for it that will put out positive 12, positive 5, and negative 5, hoping all on one board, and looking for something reasonably priced, not ridiculously overpriced like I've been finding. So I don't know if anybody has any suggestions.
But didn't somebody run the 64K RAM on that only requires the 5-volt power supply? I think someone did.
It might have been Tim Halloran, because he was had that.
Yeah, I
So
think Tim was doing it.
You might want to contact Tim Halloran and see what his solution he came up with.
Yeah, because it's the 12-volt one that's throwing me, because otherwise I'd have to put two separate supplies in and wire it up that way.
Yeah, it's a pain powering that board. I agree with you.
Yeah, but the box to put it in is going to be huge when it's done if I have to do two supplies. So
yeah, I just had mine running off my bench power supply with 3 outputs, but that's not a good long-term solution.
yeah, exactly.
So Paul, one thing to give you a quick warning on, look through the Discord if you're on it. There is a pin that needs to be pushed out on the VDG on the 9918 part, and if you don't, it will not come up. And I don't know if Ian added that to the notes or not, but there's a discussion on the board about it, and it definitely will mess up if you don't do that. So
okay, I'll look for that. Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Thank you, Paul Metcalf. And last one left, we got Stu is here. Stu's game review. Stu, you been reviewing any TRS-80 games lately?
Yeah, sorry for changing my name. I mean, it's got something at the end here, but actually, would just show this. I don't know if you know this guy Kyle, who's on the Facebook groups, but he was on eBay and he sold me this game. Actually, let me unblur myself so you can actually see it. Hold on a second, if we're gonna do that. Virtual background. There we go. So he was selling this game on eBay. Is it backwards or can you see it? Okay.
It's good.
I've never freaking heard of this ever. Like see this Antichrist and Russian roulette. And so I was like, is this even a real thing or is this someone like a homebrew or something? And I did a search on Google and there's like InfoWorld magazine in 1980 covered this, an ad by this Berserk company that I never heard of before. So apparently it's something real. And I bought it from this guy because I was like, I got to try this out. And then he emailed me, he messaged me and said, hey, Stu, are you going to review this on your YouTube channel? And I was like, wow, someone like knows who I am. And I was like, yeah, actually I am. And so I actually did this last week, I think. It's the Bruiser game is like a boxing game, and it's like really hard because it's really geared towards the boxer. And then the Russian roulette is like, just as you might expect, like fairly stupid, but like the graphics are actually really good. So you should check that out. And Antichrist is like you put in your last name or other people's last names, it decides if you're the Antichrist or not, apparently. So very, very, very weird. But it was definitely worth picking it up. And still looking for lots of other eclectic stuff like that. I also got in the mail today some magazines. Some bunch of issues of the Rainbow. I was looking for this one for a while, the January 1983, which has the adventure issue with the pull-out poster and stuff like that. And the guy was also nice enough to send me a bunch of these Coco ads for free, which I don't have. So going through those. So keep picking up stuff. But I do a question for the group since everybody made me think about this before. We're talking about old games or whatever. I don't know if I ever asked this, but back in the day, I used to have a game on the Model 1, which I remember the executable was called Kill, so kill.command or something like that. My dad insisted it was called Tenement, actually. I've not been able to find a copy of this anywhere or any information about it on the internet, but basically the way the game worked was you're in some kind of building, apartment building with 5 floors. You start off on the top floor and you have to make your way down to the bottom and escape. And each floor had 5 rooms in it. And then in each room, there could be either a sewer rat, a cockroach, a pusher, a mugger, or a hitman. And you had in your inventory some random stuff. You had like a couple of bricks. You had a shotgun with like a couple of shells. You had a handgun maybe, and you had your feet, and you could also light a fire. And it was random a little bit. So whether you got it or not depended a little bit on what the order of the people in the rooms were, because they give you stuff when you killed them, and also what you had in your inventory when you started. But the only thing I remember is that there was also a fire escape, and you could go on the fire escape to like skip a whole like floor, go down, let's say 5 to 4 or whatever. But if you go on the fire escape, then it said like something like Sinbad the sniper just shot off your balls. And then you lose like 3/4 of your hit points or something like that. So it wasn't like a really good idea. Anyway, I've never been able to find this game. If anybody's ever heard of it, either anybody on now or anybody watching this later, please like contact me and let me know how I can find it, because I would love to play this game again all these years later. Either called Kill or Tenement, apparently, but never found anything about it. Don't know who made it or anything like that. So plea out to the community.
You're giving me good ideas for my next game.
And this was, dude, that was for the Coco, right?
No, it wasn't for the Coco. It was for the Model 1, I think. I mean, I had a Model 1, a 3, and a 4, but I think it was for the Model 1, like a regular Model 1 game. Probably level 2, but I don't remember anymore. Anybody thinks about that, let me know.
I'll search.
That Bruiser game, was there a date on it?
There was no date on it. I didn't look through every line of the code to see if there's a date hidden anywhere, but the ads I found were both from 1980. There was one for InfoWorld, there was another from somewhere else. I'm assuming it was like August 1980 or something. So I'm assuming it's a 1980 game, but not really sure. It's a really cheapo game because there's 10 rounds and you have to win by decision. You can't knock down the champion, but he can knock you down. And there's like hardly any time even to get the number of points that the game requires to let you win by decision. So I played a little bit and I was like, the heck with this. I had more fun with Russian roulette, to be honest.
I'd say collecting those really obscure games that were actually packaged up to be sold as a game. That's a pretty neat little part of the hobby. I like that.
For sure. And this one, unfortunately, is just a loose, tape. It must have come with instructions or something, but I don't have it. So never heard of it before.
Well, Peter will have that game for you at the next TA convention, so don't worry.
I like that with the cockroaches.
That sounds like an interesting
drug
one.
pushers.
I remember it so clearly. That's the thing. I can tell you exactly the mechanics of the game almost, but I just don't know where it is.
Reminds me of my youth because I grew up in the Bronx in a crappy neighborhood, and we had cockroaches and drug pushers outside. Reminds me of my youth.
And I grew up in Brooklyn, so similar.
There you go.
Cool. All right, I think we got to everybody. Anybody have any last parting words for this month?
I have a question.
Yep, go ahead, Vern.
GoTech. How do I get a GoTech? Craig talked about he bought a GoTech. I'm looking online for GoTechs and they all say 1.44 meg.
Yeah, but the thing is you get the GoTech and then you have to re-firmware it and then you open it up for flash floppy to be used on TRS-80.
Vernon, if you're interested in one, I have a GoTech all ready to go that I'm not using. If you want it, just get in touch with me and I'll sell it to you for a very cheap price.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
I'd just like to say thanks for letting me participate and to meet Vernon face to face. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, we're only 4,000 miles away.
Hey, Pete.
Yeah.
Been going through this box while you guys were talking, finding some pretty interesting Model 2 stuff, some software in here. Just if we've got a few minutes, I'll just hold them up to the camera. Maybe you tell me if we've already got them in the archive.
Sure.
Some interesting items here. Nevada Basic. Does that sound familiar?
No.
That's another CPM program.
Okay.
That was about $29 when new.
This one says Tristos 2.0 required Pro Basic version 1.0.
Haven't heard
systems.
I don't think we have that.
Oh, dang it. And then a few things just fell out of my lap. There's quite a few cool little things here, but I built this little pile up. This one was interesting. An application package. It actually looks like it has program source.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That'll be for Nevada COBOL, which you should have there too.
Okay. We'll look to see if I do this. Quite a few things here. This one's called C-Tensile from Microwaves Computer Products. It's a screen programming. I was reading. It says it's meant for programs. This is program. The two-part system of screen management. One part called C-Tensile allows the user to create pre-formatted screens. The other part called V-Tensile allows the programmer to use the screens in assembler, basic, or COBOL programs. So that's pretty neat. So that's C-Tensile. Reformatter.
Somebody was really into COBOL.
From the management.
Yep.
Okay, that's a different reformatter to what we've got in the archive, Pete, I think.
This one says CPM to IBM, and it says release 3.2.
That's definitely because we've got versions 2 and version 1.
It looks to be in pretty decent shape. No crazy warping. So hopefully I can get a good rip of it. I'm guessing this is an original CPM disc.
Yeah.
Says all software in this diskette for the source or object form proprietary. It's digital research, Pacific Grove. It says 1980, 1981, Pickles and Trout, and has a serial number here.
What version Pickles and Trout does it say?
CPM 2.2 EH Corvus, 1979.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
A Corvus disc. Mm-hmm.
I have a Corvus system that's missing that disc, or the disc that I've got's unreadable.
Mm.
There you go, Aaron.
Special
Treasure
archive.
trove there, Joe.
It's in pretty good shape. No major
Yeah.
warping, so hopefully I can get a good rip of it. But yeah, the reformatter, C-Tensile, TRS-80 means business has a program disk. I found the book a while
Yeah.
ago and had showed that, but then I found a program disk for it. It's not in the best shape. I may have to move it to its own envelope.
Did I archive that?
I thought you did.
I think I did. Yeah, I think I.
Yeah,
have
you've
that.
got. I think you've got one of them, Pete.
Yeah,
I think that's in the archive.
I think so. And my disc was really bad too. I had to cut it out of the jacket and put it in a new jacket too. Something about that disc, the way they packaged it in the book,
Yep.
it gets warped. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and come in a separate little box.
But yeah, interesting finds. Got the alternate source finder here.
If that's like any of the other alternate source products, it's pretty good.
Says accounting /M2.
Oh,
so
I didn't know they did that. Their programming tools were pretty good.
Nice. But yeah, I'll try to go through and get some pictures and stuff. Thought it was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Joe. All right, guys, we're gonna call it a meeting. We'll do this again in another month. Thanks
All
so
right.
much for joining.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Stay safe, everybody.
You too.
Night.
Good night.